Hey y'all, I hope wherever you're at, you are thriving. And I just wanted to discuss something that I've been kind of going through, actually, not kind of, really been going through subconsciously. It's been going on for at least the past 4 years, but consciously, it's something that I've been consciously navigating and searching my way through different hidden meanings and clues. A lot of this is why I created something called the Goddess Keys. And I realized, what started as a spiritual journey turned a little bit more into a technomantic journey. And that's what the key has led me to, is how do you become the energy that might be gatekeeping you so that you can get through those gates or dissolve them. So you have to become the access key in order to do that. And a lot of that has meant looking at perceived limitations and seeing beyond those limitations. And this is why we go beyond the birth chart. This is why I've been really hyping up going beyond your birth chart, because you becoming the access key a lot of times means you need to do an avatar shift. You might have been assigned a role in the simulation where you weren't supposed to have a lot of power, where you weren't supposed to have a lot of access. And if you're looking to rewrite those codes, you need to look at your birth chart. We assume that, I know I used to assume that astrology had this divine meaning, okay? And it meant that all was well within the universe. You just had to know how to interpret your chart. But what I have been researching and studying and going through my own embodiment process with over the past few years, although I've just done it this year publicly on a public platform, but it's a journey I've been definitely path working during this time, which is going beyond the birth chart, seeing the sort of limitations, which could show up as like frequency fences. It could show up as like destiny swap scenarios. It could show up as feeling like you have big karmic burdens. It could show up as just like having backlash when you work on creating a new way of showing up in the world, and that kind of karmic backlash. A lot of this is found in your birth chart, and you can decode it, and it can help you to move beyond your birth chart. So I write more about that in this book, so you can pick it up on Amazon or Kindle. And I wanted to just share what the first Sacred Leadership course is going to be about, and that's on December 12th. Okay, so that's coming up, and I'm going to be sharing very specific, more in-depth details on the Patreon Black Diamond platform, but I just kind of wanted to give a synopsis of what the first session is, which is Technomancy 101. It's something I have a lot of technomantic tools on Patreon, actually, and I even have more to come. And I'm just figuring out now, like, how to organize the information so that it's, because I do kind of work through this information because I do like to share, information as well. And so, technomancy has kind of helped me gain a lot more self-actualization. It's helped me to think creatively outside of different barriers. It's helped me to appreciate art and creativity more and value it, and it's a strategy. Like, if you don't feel like you're creative, right, then you want to look at what's around you, because that your environment a lot of times is going to be contributing to that, okay? Because there are energy harvesting sort of scripts that a lot of people might be in, and it's like a serious conversation. It's like a conversation that a lot of us want to tiptoe around, because we've been so programmed around the way that the traditional family structure is supposed to work, and a lot of that has been based upon a deep level of programming as well as gaslighting, so a lot of us are now waking up from relationships that maybe haven't served us, or not serving like what we're moving into, the avatar we're moving into. If you're changing avatars, y'all, a lot changes, okay? It's not just you change, your surroundings change. And I do notice that the ones who are able to be malleable and allow their surroundings to change do a lot better with this process. Okay, so it's just something that, yeah, it's something I want to highlight as well, because, you know, for folks who are called to go on a one-on-one deep dive with me, like, it's a complete world shift, you know, and there are going to be these moments where you need to make the tough decisions, okay? And some people are not able to make them, or they get scared, and that's okay. Like, that's been my journey for a long time, is just removing the veils of programming, you know. And so, but it does mean having some hard conversations sometimes, related to family structure and the way you're structuring your world. And so you need to have certain access keys as you're rebuilding, or not even rebuilding, but transforming your avatar. And this means having access to information which has typically been kept hidden and sheltered in secret societies. So I have this spiral sound that I was listening to, from my YouTube channel, The Goddess Keys. It's on King Solomon. So, you know, a lot of, like, quote, divine feminine coaches and teachers want to keep you super in your feminine, but you're not going to get to these access keys if you're not embodied in your masculine. So, you know, for all of these twin flame, that's why the twin flame narrative can be really dangerous, because it has you seeking the masculine outside of yourself. And I believe that to be a psyop to keep us in this whole energy harvesting scheme, which is being facilitated by the womb. So yeah, that's just something we want to be mindful of during this process of deprogramming, you know. And this is for entertainment purposes only. Like, this is an art, like, more than anything else, y'all, this is an artistic exploration, and it's hopefully supporting you with thinking and dreaming bigger for yourself, more expansive, more spacious. Okay, like, some of us have been afraid to dream, have been afraid to set goals because they didn't want to be disappointed and stuff. You know, that's a part of the programming that we have to unlearn, or that we have unlearned. But yeah, becoming the access key means going into the masculine energies, okay? So it's not just about resting in your feminine, it's also about really anchoring into the masculine. And that's a tough journey. That's not like super team soft life. Like, I have been team soft life a lot, okay? That's totally been me. Oh wait, let me do this. Yeah, I have been team soft life for many years. And I've also been challenging myself to anchor into the masculine, which has been a complete game changer. When you're able to anchor, into that masculine part of you, not looking for it outside of yourself. And that's not to say that you don't, you know, end up in a relationship, but it is to say that you need to put double the energy. Because if you think about it, if you're looking for your masculine outside of you, then you're not complete. You have to be with somebody to complete you. But if instead of looking outward, you cultivated your energetic body with a lot of reprogramming, related to you being complete from within, you would be able to generate twice as much energy as you are now, as opposed to waiting for the masculine, you know. So that's a big thing that has been hidden, because it shows how powerful the womb is, and that's why you see certain oppressive energies as it relates to it. And a lot of this has to do with the gatekeeping energy of the Y chromosome. Once again, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional. This is just for entertainment purposes only. But like, this is something to look into as you are looking to embody the masculine, because And I did a video about this a couple weeks ago, so you could look for that if you're interested, around this concept of, does the divine masculine even exist? Like, yeah, because when you look into what the Y chromosome is and what it represents, and when you start really looking into the way fraternities run and stuff, they do a lot related to the beast within, to connecting with the beast from within, all that kind of stuff. But when, you know, spiritual programming would have the divine masculine seem like really soft and all this sort of stuff. But that's actually, that's not a divine masculine. That's somebody who's really in their feminine, whether or not they appear as masculine or not. The Y chromosome represents the beast, and there is this concept of needing to unite with the beast to be fully integrated within the simulation, you know. And so, but then we get into this concept of, oh, that's demonic, oh, that's yeah, that's demonic, that's a big one. And it's like, okay, well, the beasts are all around us. Then you have to start thinking not so literally, like animals, animal shamanism. Like, animals are big in many different spiritual practices, and it relates to the initiatory rites. So it's also, this stuff is run on like really ancient information that is helpful to know, actually. Animal totems and enhancing yourself with animal totems is actually like a really powerful way to become the access key. But it does mean getting out of your human avatar, even if you are looking to navigate the hyperdimensional realms. And that's something we're going to discuss in Sacred Leadership. So that's why the first session is on technomancy, giving people a primer. Please come with your questions. Like, this is like really new information, and a lot of this information that I'm bringing forth, I've had to distill it and sit with it and have my own oh my gosh moments with it, you know. So it's the information doesn't always come, it comes easily to me now. But I've had to let go of a lot of resistance in order for that to happen. So, but that's because I've been accessing these sacred archives of initiatory rites that a lot of times are excluded from womb-coded beings and individuals. And so this is why I've created this sacred leadership space. But we have to talk, like, that's why technomancy is important, because a lot of times when you think of like computer programming, that's more of a masculine energy. Like, people with more masculine energy or actual like biological males will end up in the field of computer programming and stuff, and how it very much shapes our perception. So a big piece of uniting with your masculine is actually diving into technomancy, because you're getting out of the emotion of a lot of the stuff that's running maybe within your simulation. And when you get out of the emotion, and that helps you to like energetically detach, and your energy won't be utilized as a feeding source for somebody else's story. So that's just something to think about. Once you get to the coding of things, you can reprogram your world. I'm not even gonna say reality, but your world very quickly. But you can't be attached. You know, you have to let go of a lot of attachment and have more of a detached kind of programming sort of energy. Okay. So that is another way of really connecting with your masculine. If you are interested in technomancy, this is probably you feeling your inner masculine wanting to express themselves, okay? And they don't teach goddesses to do this, like to go into computer programming, but you know, the computer programming aspect creates the narrative of these goddesses. So it's important to know what's going on in the back end. And the more I've learned, the more I've seen that the biggest bet, or like the biggest opportunity to progress in this world, is to know the coding of it, because then you can code your own world. So this is something I go in, this is like going to be the first quarter of Sacred Leadership, is really diving into technomancy. A lot of the words, a lot of this stuff is coming from my book Beyond the Birth Chart, but also The Architect is Her, and a very like new one that I have coming up regarding hyperdimensional warfare and how to turn it into an art. So and it's from a technomantic standpoint. So I'm really excited about that. You'll hear more information about that soon. And yeah, so a lot of it is coming from practices and beyond. It's like going beyond what those books are doing, but that's like a good foundation too, to support you with your path. So yeah, so I would hope that if you have any questions about whether that's like sacred leadership or one-on-one coaching, actually sacred leadership or a one-on-one journey, an uncoached journey with me, then you can reach out to, for Patreon, you could just like sign up right there on Patreon. If you have like any questions about the specifics of Patreon or what that monthly investment would look like if you have further questions, you can also email me as well. But for the most part, you know, we hop on a call after you have joined Black Diamond on Patreon. And yeah, and it's great to kind of be within that portal, but it's also something where if you're not ready to make significant changes, then sometimes you're gonna feel stuck. You know, they're at some point, and a lot of times what I will say is that these significant changes have to do with family. And this is where things get really rough, because if you've been trained to depend on family, but you've also felt like harmed by family or scapegoated by family, like at some point you need to make the choice to step away when need be, and do that for as long as you need to do that. And a lot of times that's going to mean transcending feelings of guilt and shame. So this is another reason why I've written this kind of stuff, because there's a lot of gaslighting that can happen with the ones that we've been trained to love and trust. And that's not to say they even do that on purpose. Sometimes it's a coding issue, okay? So this is what I mean when I say getting out of the emotions of things. Because it wasn't until I came at this from a non-dualistic perspective that I was able to gain this insight. Like when I held on to like different angers or feelings of injustice about different things, it actually kept me from progressing. But when I actually worked to like integrate the energies of these things that felt oppositional to me, it gave me a sense of balance. And also it helped me to develop skills and strategies that I thought were beyond me. And so yeah, and a lot of that started though with going beyond the birth chart, also charting the asteroids. So my Patreon does offer a class, actually 2 classes on charting asteroids, so you can check that out there. And yeah, also Beyond the Birth Chart has an asteroid section as well, but I only like skim the surface with it, just because I really wanted to focus on the structure of the birth chart in this book. But I feel like if I were to really go into writing about asteroids, I would need to write like a whole book on them. So that's something that I'm still kind of moving through at the moment. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, just I also create this space because it's hard. It's hard sometimes making those changes, right? And letting go. And so I've definitely been there. And a lot of times people don't move or don't take that next step because they're afraid of being alone. So I am kind of now moving into this concept of creating community very intentionally for people who might like have the potential to feel isolated with some of the choices that they need to make in order for them to make that significant change. So that's kind of where things are moving to, is a really deep, not even self-care, but like self-sustenance sort of standpoint with my content. So I think sometimes if we think about technomancy, it can seem to out of resonance with the earth, you know, or with the land, but it's actually more in resonance, in my opinion, because technomancy has you look at the minerals that create our world a lot more, and you become a master of that elemental realm that's really supportive and that's running a lot of the way our world is currently run. So once again, becoming the access key is pushing yourself to learn new, it's pushing yourself to learn new skills, to learn new tools, and to be creative. A lot of y'all I know are struggling with being creative sometimes, okay? And that in itself probably is like, do you even have permission in your current avatar to be a creator? Like, these are questions to ask yourself, you know? This is kind of like where that whole shadow work thing goes in. So this technomantic journey that I've been unearthing and like bringing forth has a lot to do with my own what started off as like healing, then shadow work, then ancestral healing. And I like had to go descend basically and go through different aspects of suppression within the simulation and I kind of looped there for a bit, you know, this whole savior, chosen one kind of energy. And I kind of looped there for a bit, but once I finally like understood that a lot of these people that have been showing up, they represent archetypes. How can I alchemize the way I show up in the simulation while working through these archetypes that get presented in my world and embodying these archetypes? So looking at the world that way opens up a whole new portal for you. And you start seeing the game of it, because I could sound really escapist to be like, oh, this world is an illusion and everything is a game, you know? But if you really look at things closely, it's not just like pie in the sky. It's like it's like unlearning the gaslighting, letting the gaslighting, the cobwebs, like removing the cobwebs from your eyes. Like, these are things that we do consistently on this path. So it's not easy, and it's not for people who are afraid of change. I just have to keep it real. So for people who are looking for a change, for a monumental shift, those are the folks that I am interested in working with. You know, if you kind of want to tiptoe around change and transformation, and you want to hold on to like your old life, and you really think you're gonna make that shift, like let's think about it. You know, let's keep it real. We got to keep it real. I'm gonna say the stuff that people are thinking but wouldn't dare say, okay? And I gladly do it, you know, I gladly do it, and this is the energy that I bring. It's no sugarcoating, but that doesn't mean that you can't have fun. You can have a lot of fun in this process and learn a lot. It's great. So any person who has come into my world as like an opposition, so any person who's like come into my world as an opposition has been like one of my biggest teachers. So it's been really helpful. But I've had to come at things from a really deeply alchemical creator approach. And that meant I had to deprogram myself a lot to get there. So what's happening a lot of times with like a lot of like family and loved ones, if they're coded to be your gatekeeper, and they might not know this is like all happening subconsciously. Like, if they're coded to be your gatekeeper and you're evolving, like, they are going to be programmed to cut you down. That's why you're feeling that karmic family energy, okay? So you staying in that energy can cause you to become stagnant. But if you know that that's happening, if you know that that family member is coded to do that, then you can recode, okay? And you can change how that person or that being appears in your world, okay? But this requires being flexible. This requires being open to change, fluid. You can't be rigid during this process. So I just wanted to share that around this concept of becoming the access key. This is a very mercurial concept. You know, like somebody who's Mercury dominant, you are like a natural gatekeeper, or somebody who's able to go in between realms. You know, Mercury moves very quickly, and it's like the Magus sort of sign, that, or like planet. And it's stands at the crossroads. Like Wednesday is Mercury day, okay? And Wednesday is the day of the crossroads. And so it's, Mercury is very much about delivering information quickly, multidimensionally. And yeah, this is a very big sort of energy.